Truly delighted to have you on yet another edition of Business Glide, your go-to point on matters business, politics, economics at large, with yours truly, Richard Mwanja, your resident economist, here on Herman Manyora's channel. And indeed, yet again, it is an absolute privilege and honor to have you on board. Now today, we're going to discuss a plethora of issues in the world of business and economics, things that are affecting the country that is Kenya and our economy at large. And I am really privileged to have on board one of the firebrand lawyers in this country, advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and a thought leader par excellence, the first of his name, Ndego Anjiru.
Yeah.
Welcome on board, sir.
Thank you very much, Mwenda. It's a pleasure to have you and host you in our offices. It's a rare opportunity that God has granted unto us, and the honor from your media house.
Oh, sure.
To host you.
Yeah, we are truly delighted. I mean, you are this firebrand lawyer out there, very vocal. And we must say that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because even we see some of your legal representations, they are on matters that deal with the economy.
Yeah.
Impeachment of those who've made way with graft and all that. So we really appreciate your work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, yesterday I was having a conversation with some guys. I was representing an MCA from Kirinyaga County.
Oh, sure.
By the name of David Madenge. And he's in UDA, and so people could not figure out how I could represent an MCA who is a UDA. And of course, I also represented another MCA in during the election petition from Baraki Ward. Sure. Baraki is in Garissa County, and he was UDA, and we presented him, and he won the case. So they were like, "Hey, how actually do you represent these guys, and they're your adversaries?" And I said, when it comes to a question of humanity, humanity knows no boundaries.
True.
Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, and therefore you don't classify people on stereotype them or view them from their political inclination or political adaptation. What matters most is justice.
Justice at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Very well. Yeah. But I know many of our fans are curious because it's the first time you are premiering on this particular show, and the first one for us.
Yeah.
And they will think, this young man from Gishugu.
Yes.
At one point, did he ever imagine he'll be this big lawyer, this big advocate at some point?
I don't even consider myself being big because it's God's favor, it's God's grace.
Sure.
The far we've been able to come, it has taken the hand of God. It has taken people's holding our hands. It has taken a lot of sacrifice as well, and devotion, and most importantly, the ability to be yourself, and the whole consciousness of integrity and transparency.
Oh yeah.
And those are the overriding principles that I operate on.
Very well. Men were curious, and at least I've done you justice. Now, that of the way, let's get straight into the show for the day.
Yes.
And on this particular edition of Business Glide, we are looking at a plethora of economic issues.
Exactly.
But then again, let's start from this issue that you've taken concern with.
Yeah.
The unemployment crisis in this country.
Yes.
This government came on board and promised 100,000 jobs, at least, every year. This far, if you look at avenues to create that employment, be it housing agenda, be it bilateral agreements with other countries to export labor from Kenya. Are you somewhat satisfied that we are making substantial strides towards getting to that goal?
I would not even figure out that there are some strides that have been made. If there are any strides that were made or have been made, or any milestone that has been overcome, would not have been having people camping at the GSU center the other day. 7,500 young men turned up.
Embakasi Barracks. Looking for KDF opportunities.
Looking for, I think, 350 opportunities.
Sure.
It is it's one thing to say and the other thing to do.
All right.
I have not seen any efforts being committed towards changing the destiny of the unemployed youth in this country, because you basically cannot say that you are creating jobs by brain draining our country. Because the moment you keep on saying, I have bilateral contracts with other countries, I have job agreements with other countries, this and this number of people will go to this and this country, you are draining our country. You are brain draining our country. And you cannot create an economy when you are still sucking a significant number of professionals from our economy and allegedly in trying to answer the question of unemployment. There are many ways that employment can be achieved. And I've seen those countries that have progressed, and most importantly, a country like Singapore.
True.
They never progressed through brain drains. They never progressed through rhetorics. They progressed by making sure that the rubber meets the road. And the rubber meeting the road is making sure that they have revolutionized the whole aspect of political question and economic question. They first of all sorted out the political issues. They made sure they have individuals in government who believes in transparency, who believes in accountability, who believes in the rule of law. It's called I keep on forgetting the pronunciation of that name.
No worries.
But he fixed governance first. So that then fixing governance meant it will have a ripple effect of fixing the economic aspect. In this country, we have a serious challenge of fixing governance. We have not fixed governance in this country. You cannot say you want to create jobs and you have not reigned on corruption. You cannot say you want to create jobs, you have not reigned on spillage and wastage of human resource. You have not reigned on wastage of resources. And then you say you want to create jobs. Create jobs in which way?
Sure.
So to me, these are just rhetorics. These are just white elephants. These are just aspirations. What people in the mtaa call stories are jabber. That's what I would describe them. Because there is no investment that has been done towards trying to sort out the question of the youths.
Or say in the legal space, call it hot air.
Yeah, well, if you go and meet someone like Lady Justice Martha Koome, he will describe that as hot air.
As hot air.
Yes, if you go to the mtaani, and the people in mtaani are actually much more sober than some of those people that you think are. They call it stories ajaba. Hapa kuna story.
Hakuna.
Yeah.
Tunalishwa promises.
Hapa ni promises after promises.
Talking of which, actually, now that you've mentioned of Singapore, yes, a certain global publication came forward and published a story saying Kenya is supposed to be the Singapore of Africa.
Yeah.
But then again, that message was backed up by a number of state leaders, starting from the president himself. If you look at our current taxation regime, and case in point, look at the Finance Act of 2023, and say here in Nairobi County, look at Sakaja's Finance Bill of 2024, and even the one that he has already assented to. Are you justified that this same government that rode to presidency on the vehicle of looking at the affairs of the MSMEs, and the hustlers in the informal sector, are you justified that it's still true to that course of looking into the affairs?
No. Mr. William Ruto has not been true to his words. He does not believe in what he says. He does not live to the creeds of his promises. Because instead of creating an enthusiastic country that will spike enthusiastic economy, he has created an extractive regime, both extractive politically and extractive economically. And an extractive regime like this one cannot survive. An extractive regime like this one is one that is premised solely on capitalism principles. And you know, the moment he started quoting and going to bed with people like IMF and the World Bank, then he said that all what he needs to do is to make sure that he has converted all Kenyans into collateral. Because for us, in Kenya, we are now collateral. We are being viewed as security for the loans that IMF and the World Bank is giving unto us. And that's, as you can see, he has concentrated on increasing extractive taxes. So that in return he can convince the IMF that I'll be able to pay your loans because I'll be able to extract as much taxes as possible to secure your loans from these Kenyans. So he has overburdened Kenyans. The Finance Act is quite oppressive and draconian, and you can see even Sakaja is following suit. So to me, and I have heard someone like His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka repeatedly say that you cannot build an economy by overtaxing Kenyans. If you today just drive around Nairobi, you realize that traffic has actually reduced. Why? Because people are simply saying I cannot be overtaxed through fuel. You tax me through the housing levy. You tax me through the VAT. You tax me through the NSSF. You tax me through the NHIF. When it comes to electricity, you are taxing me. When you come to the water that we are now drinking, you are taxing me.
And now Huduma services are coming.
And then Huduma services are also coming. That is why they say that the center can no longer hold. So in my view, the entire aspect of taxation regime is backfiring on this guy. It has boomeranged, and you can see it has also impacted on, because of these bad economic policies, it has impacted on our foreign exchange reserves.
Yeah, sure.
If you see at our forex today, last week, Kenya was ranked as the worst performing forex in the world.
Depreciation of the Kenyan shilling.
Yes, because of the depreciation. If you look at what is happening at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, people have withdrawn their money. People have withdrawn their investment. Why? Because the kind of the policy that William Ruto has introduced, they are absurd.
Sure.
Why say so? He began by coming up with almost a Marxist-Leninist ideology when he pitted the hustlers versus the dynasties. You know, when he pitted the two camps, he was simply saying that the hustlers, whom Karl Marx was describing as the proletarians or the newpens, or whom Karl Marx was further describing as the laborers, against those people who own the tools of production.
Bourgeoisies.
The bourgeois. And then when he pitted these two categories of individuals, he was simply telling the laborers that if they unite against the bourgeois, who are now allegedly referred to as a dynasty, then they will be able to overcome their challenges of unemployment. But then, you see, he was introducing a very heavy concept, a concept that invited the entire world into the Cold War era. So for him, he's lost between capitalism, he's lost in between socialism. He doesn't know exactly where he is, because when you come up with the question of affordable housing for all, you are simply saying that you want to socialize our economy. You know, where you are saying that government will provide facilities for its people. But these two concepts cannot coexist. You have to choose which side of the bread you want to eat. You cannot have your cake and eat it. So you cannot be capitalist during the day, and then at night you are practicing socialism. And that's why you can see he's not creating excitement in the economy to the extent that failure to create the excitement is not creating an attractive environment for people. The other thing is his arrogance. I call it political and economic arrogance.
Political and economic.
Yes,
arrogance.
he goes to Western. He finds that there's this company that is struggling called Mumias Sugar, Sony Sugar, and all those companies. Then for him, in his view, he thinks that these companies are struggling because a private individual has been contracted and the company has been privatized. Then he says, you have three mambo matatu issues. Unaenda binguni,
usafiri nje ya nchi,
unaenda jela, ama unaenda nje ya nchi. Then he goes and says, first of all, that statement scares investors. Not even investors, even we Kenyans are scared. Our intestines trembles the moment those words are mentioned.
Sure.
Number two, it scares the investors, because you're simply saying that in Kenya there is no conducive environment for survival. Number three, what he does, he goes and tells the investor, go and withdraw those cases. And then the investor is abducted. Subsequently, cases are withdrawn. What that says is that in this country, we no longer trust institutions that we have created. And these institutions that we have created, and especially the judiciary, are the institutions that will help us stabilize democracy.
True.
And where we have a stable democracy, we have a stable economy. So when you tell an individual, go and withdraw these cases, what you're simply saying is that you're sending a signal outside there that if an investor comes here in this country and there's a misunderstanding between you, the investor, and the government, is that investor will never have an opportunity to be heard. You'll never have a fair hearing before the courts of law. So you become the Alpha and the Omega. Ruto becomes the judge, becomes the prosecutor, becomes the accused, and becomes everything.
All in one.
So you're not sending very good signals outside there that can encourage investors that we have a system that can help arbitrate economic and social and political issues. So to him, he's the author of his own misfortune.
Talking of which, as we are doing this interview, you know, he's out in China.
Yes.
And the reason for him going to China is actually to look for further funding in terms of debt, or to a tune of $1 billion US dollars. And he has backed this this request for that fund, just so to complete all stalled white elephants, heavy investment projects in this country. When he was getting to office, he said he's going to tamp down on public debt.
Yes.
But this survey actually saying public debts are going over the roof.
Yes.
In just this period under review, he's actually borrowed much more than under the same period Uhuru did. So from where you sit as your footnote, do you consider William Ruto address to, his approach towards foreign debt a case of double speak, not really going towards what he really promised to?
Well, even you're even much more courteous when you speak about double speak. To me, the whole aspect of him leading an onslaught on the debts was an attempt to obtain from Kenyans, fraudulently obtain from Kenyans the votes, because he has not shown me any country in the world that has progressed without debts. I mean, is William trying to tell us that he's going to pay all the debts and Kenya will not have the debts anymore? It's like a person who goes to a bank, Kenya Commercial Bank or Equity Bank or Cooperative Bank. You go and borrow the loan. Once they give you the loan, you go look for money and you say, mimi nataka kulipa pesa yenu yote tumalizane. When you see an individual, is easy to do that. But the country is among other nations, it's a committee of nations, and in a committee of nations, you cannot lock yourself out. There is no possibility that you'll never ever need to refurbish or to replenish the gold reserve, if Kenya at all we have any substantive gold reserve. So and of course, you cannot deal without the question of debts. You cannot progress without the question of debts. If you attempt to progress without debts, you break the Kenyans' backs as they are now. You kill the working force, the working class. You kill the laborers. You kill the proletarians. You kill the petty bourgeois, the middle class, and you kill even the bourgeois. And thus you can see the bourgeois are even running away from this country. That you can see the petty bourgeois, the middle class, are no longer driving their cars to work. What that means is the consumption of fuel reduces. What that means is the importation of fuel reduces. You from a petrol station somewhere, perhaps along Ngong Road, failing to sell the quantity of this fuel they sell affects the importation processes.
True.
When you affect the importation of processes because of taxation, you are impacting on the geoeconomic of the country, the geoeconomics and the geopolitics of the world.
It has a ripple effect.
It has a serious ripple effect. So a person who fails to consume 5 liters that he consumes every day, all that ripple effect will go up to Saudi Arabia. All that ripple effect will affect the dollar. All that ripple effect will affect so many other avenues and limbs and branches.
Very well.
So to me, it is daydreaming to think that he can get Kenyans off debts. Never ever. And I dare him to try it.
All right. Perfectly right, sir. Now that we've talked about matters employment, we've crossed over to the business world, looking at those in the informal sector.
Yes.
And how about we cross over now to agriculture? You are a farmer back in Gishugu. And this is one sector of the economy that domiciles majority of Kenyans who are not directly employed as formal workers out there. This government came on board and said instead of actually subsidizing on consumption, it's going to subsidize on production.
Yes, yes.
And one of the avenues was through the further outreach of subsidized fertilizer, and also the fighting of cartels in agriculture.
Yes.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua this far in Mount Kenya is trying to spearhead the fight against coffee cartels.
Yes.
But then again, just a fortnight ago, he came forth and said, "This war, I cannot handle it. It is beyond me."
Yeah.
If you're gonna talk that way and you want to revitalize the fortunes of the Kenyan farmer, does it mean even when you're getting to office, you never had their best interests at heart in the first place?
Of course, he has never had. You know, we are, the government is being run like a criminal enterprise.
Why do you say so?
I say so because it's a criminal enterprise whereby individuals have gone there to compensate for what their fathers and their parents were not able to give them when they were young. That is why the question of, oh, I went to class without shoes, oh, I went to school without shoes is an issue. It's a purely scrabble for compensating what you lacked. That is why the question of the farmer comes last. That's why the question of the food security comes last. What comes first is, how much do I pocket? How much do I go home with? Let me first of all give you an example. So, Mr. Gachagua, whom I like referring to as a former member of parliament for Madeira.
Yeah, sure. And Dio.
Or former Dio, comes and says he's going to fight cartels. So he calls a meeting somewhere in Meru. This meeting in Meru is attended by a poor farmer from Kirinyaga, another poor farmer from Muranga, and then there is this very brilliant governor who comes very brave and says, oh, this is the list of the cartels. And then all of a sudden there is jubilation, there is new dawn that now we have realized the cartels. Then all of a sudden prices of coffee fails. Last year, because I'm a coffee farmer, and a big coffee farmer, a kg of coffee, we were paid at 120, almost to 150, depending on the quality of the coffee that you produce. Now we are being paid at 60 and 50 shillings. You see, they came up with a fictitious concept of state capture, which was meant to induce people to vote for them and to create hatred and further division between the haves and the haves not. To the extent now the haves not started viewing the haves as their enemy. So what happened is, they said that the cartels are the ones that are making farmers receive 120 shillings per kg. They should rather be receiving much more. So they began the war against the so-called cartels. Today, when the cartels are allegedly phased out, a kg is going for 60. When the cartels were there, a kg was going for 120.
120, 150.
So what does a farmer want? 120 or 60?
Certainly 160.
A farmer wants 120. He does not want 60 shillings.
True.
As in, a farmer does not care whether the cat is black or white, as long as the cat catches the mice. And the mice here is the money. He does not want to care who buys his coffee. What you want is money. Macadamia. Last year we sold macadamia, a kg of macadamia at 200 shillings. Today we are selling the same kg at 20 shillings.
Such a huge drop?
Yes. When the cartels were there, 120 or 200. When the cartels are phased out, 20. What does a farmer want? 20 or 200. So we are saying, if the cartels are bringing us money, give us our cartels.
Let them be.
If it is working, why fix it? You see, that's why I'm telling you, they are running a criminal enterprise. As we speak, they are now incorporating companies to start brokerages of this coffee. You might want to ask yourself how powerful Rigathi is as against the so-called cartels. And for you to understand this, you must understand that the so-called cartels, to which I do not believe that they are, controls an economy of 460 billion USD. The coffee economy, the world coffee economy.
That's a game changer.
is a huge economy that is huge than East African community. Is bigger than the ECOWAS economy.
True.
I think is bigger than the SADC economy. Then Rigathi, in his own wisdom or lack of it, decides to appear somewhere in Meru to discuss an economy of 460 billion USD.
Coffee reforms.
Coffee. What is the significance of that debate? What can they do? Even if the so-called cartel says, we are going to withdraw from buying your coffee, as they have now done, who suffers? Isn't it the farmer?
It is the farmer.
Why fix it before, why start facing out the so-called cartels before you fix the system?
True.
I mean, if your roof is leaking, do you remove the entire roof and sleep outside? If your house is leaking, you fix the leaking spots. So these guys decided to open the roof. And that's why you can see the coffee today is at 60 shillings, macadamia is at 20 shillings.
Still on that same subject, Wakili.
Yes.
I want to get your understanding of other avenues that they have tried to use to revitalize agriculture.
Yeah.
And the one I want to single out is the commitment to build over 300 dams within the next 5 years or 10 years in office that they envision they'll be in. Do you find that's also one of the most, the silver bullet to address revitalize agriculture, building dams and dams and more dams?
No, it is not. And governments, when they want to steal public resources, they come up with those moribunds, heavy investment projects. Not for serving Mwananchi, but for purposes of them doing spillage of public resource.
Budgeted corruption from the onset?
Budget is budgeted corruption, as you say, and I love that. You see, how will they fix, how will the dams be fixed when we are deforesting the country left, right, and center? For example, we have a huge dam in Diba, in my constituency, Gachagua, but it's not able to serve the purpose. Why? Because we have destroyed the water catchment areas. You see, the other day, the so-called the president lifted the moratorium that was there for deforestation.
For logging.
For logging. Today, I was reading at the papers, over 1,000 or 2 or 5,000 hectares are now without a drain. And here you are crying, oh, we need environmental justice. Oh, we need
the Nairobi Declaration.
We need the Nairobi Declaration. You see, he is speaking from the two ends of his mouth. And that is why this country must be fixed. I told you Singapore fixed the political question first. Our political question is in a mess. And that's why we cannot progress. For example, you mentioned something called the subsidized fertilizer.
Yeah, sure.
When we had the demonstrations, we were told, you guys, when you are demonstrating, we were planting. We are now waiting for the bump harvest. Oh, because the bumper harvest is because we gave them fertilizer. Where is this bumper harvest? If the harvest is really there, why is a kg of unga still going at 250? You see, these guys are excited. They are overexcited.
Case of juvenile excitement.
Juvenile excitement.
Well, there you have it. That's actually a better point to end this conversation, take it to a wrap. We'll have Advocate on the show many times to come, so no worries. He'll come here and exclusively cover all you need on matters economics, business and public policy at large. It has been a pleasure to have you on board, but now it is time for Fan of the Week. It is none other than this perfect gentleman, Manager, Tax and Legal at Deloitte Africa,
yes.
Joseph Kigodho.
Yes, we have to congratulate him.
Yeah, for tuning in.
For tuning in. And you see, when you have some kinds of guys tuning in at this show, it tells you the kind of traction and talk the show is creating.
True.
Yes.
Asante sana. We hope your fellow lawyers will be tuning into the show.
We will, of course, publish it. and of course, this is a very huge online media house.
True.
It's bigger than the media houses that we know, the traditional one and the classical ones.
Maybe you should remind them it's the biggest business show on digital media.
It should be this one.
Should be this one.
Our place, the only point of call.
The only point of call.
Yes.
So you're sure gonna grace our show many ones to come.
I am one of your adherent followers.
Very well.
Yes.
Asante sana. It's been an honor to have you on board and a privilege to host you. And we wait for next time.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm
asante
greatly
sana.
humbled, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Asante. Up next on your screen is the Business Glide African Proverb of the Day. Do enjoy the rest of your day. My name is Richard Mwanja. Peace out.